In this economy, you've gotta put in the work, even after you're dead. Welcome to Review Quickie, fast reviews of new niche, indie, and fan service games. Today we're playing Dress Up in The Dead Thread, a survival horror throwback where you fight zombies, craft ammo, and sew your own outfits because your clothes keep getting ripped off. Seriously, that's a real mechanic?
The best mechanic I've ever worked with.
Now, if you love classic Resident Evil style survival horror, threaded with a bit of fan service, this game might be right up your alley. But if you're expecting AAA polish, well, maybe temper those expectations. So, is this the sewing simulator with zombies you never knew you needed? Or an undead mess in need of a few extra patches? Let's stitch this one up. You play as Beth, a woman with a very particular set of sewing skills. What begins as an awkwardly intimate dinner with her husband's nephew quickly spirals into chaos when the world erupts into a full-blown zombie apocalypse. Before long, you're fighting your way through undead ghouls and otherworldly horrors just trying to stay alive. And make no mistake, this is classic survival horror. The developers clearly took a lot of inspiration from Resident Evil, and they're not trying to be subtle. You've got limited inventory, forcing tough decisions, that lock and key level design with lots of backtracking, puzzle-heavy exploration across interconnected maps, and enemies that constantly make you ask whether to fight or flee.
Back away, not today, disco lady.
There's even a crafting system where you combine gunpowder and chemicals for ammo or mix herbs for healing.
You say herbs, and we say herbs, because there's a fucking H in it.
With scarce resources and tight inventory space, every bullet, tool, and decision matters. And of course, there are stalker enemies. 2 of them, actually. One fills the classic unstoppable pursuer role, while the other is basically Lady D from Wish, right down to the bladed fingers. And yes, she will hunt you relentlessly. Now, where the game separates itself from being just another RE clone is the costume system, and this is where the game gets its name.
Oh, that's why they call it that.
Clothing isn't just cosmetic here. It's functional. Outfits act like light armor, providing protection against enemy attacks while also looking stylish as hell. But the more damage you take, the more your clothes degrade. First they tear, then they shred, and eventually they're gone, leaving Beth running around the apocalypse in her skivvies until you repair or craft something new. Throughout the game, you'll collect materials like linen, satin, leather, and fabric scraps you must combine before they're usable. Using sewing machines, you can repair damaged clothing, or use clothing drawings, which are basically blueprint designs to create new gear. And the system works surprisingly well. Not only do you get a ton of cheeky outfits to mix and match, but the whole mechanic fits perfectly into the resource management loop. Do you spend your materials fixing what you're wearing now, or save them for stronger gear later? It's a clever system that adds a unique layer to the genre. That said, it's not perfect. For some reason, each article of clothing you're wearing takes up an inventory slot, which makes absolutely no damn sense. If anything, clothing should give you more storage space. You know, pockets, belts, utility stuff, like, come on, the solution is literally right there.
See? It's right there.
Instead, it almost encourages you to run around naked. Well played, I guess. And that takes us to gameplay. developers clearly leaned into a punishing survival horror design, but sometimes that punishment feels more frustrating than scary.
Am I just really high right now, or is this actually happening?
The biggest issue is combat. Aiming often feels off. You'll line up what looks like a perfect shot and still miss. Survival horror combat is supposed to feel tense and disempowering, but it should still feel fair. On top of that, enemies can be incredibly spongy. Seriously, some enemies take 1,000,000 freaking hits.
Well, we're waiting.
Eventually, you unlock stronger weapons. There's a shotgun, of course, because every survival horror game needs a shotgun. You'll also get a sawed-off shotgun with flaming shells, and a crossbow that works great for silent kills and headshots. But even these upgrades aren't as powerful as you'd expect. The flaming shotgun sounds incredible, but sometimes it feels like it hits with the force of a wet fart. There are also a few strange design choices. Like headshots don't feel noticeably stronger than body shots, and there's no satisfying Resident Evil style blood burst when you land them. Even stranger, once you unlock your weapons in Act 1, that's basically it. There are no additional weapons, no upgrades, no grenades or melee tools, and the enemy roster barely evolves either. You're mostly fighting the same handful of spongy monsters throughout the whole game. That said, there is one hilarious detail. Just like Beth, zombies also have clothing damage, meaning you can literally blast the clothes off the undead, which is definitely a choice. One of the biggest surprises with the game is how much of it there is. The story splits across 3 large acts. Act 1 introduces the apocalypse and takes place largely around the Silken Vale building, which turns out to be far bigger than it first appears. You'll then explore sewers, schools, back alleys, and a bunch of interconnected locations. Act 1 alone took me over 8 hours, which is the full length of some survival horror games. So when that act wrapped up, I thought the credits were about to roll, but nope, the game was just getting started. Act 2 moves things to a casino, which is actually a pretty cool setting for an apocalypse game. Unfortunately, it's also where my biggest frustration showed up. This section introduces forced stealth with instant fail states, and they are brutal. Success isn't about improvising or reacting. There's one exact way to complete them, with almost zero room for error.
What kind of shit is that?
I spent nearly an hour repeating the same section over and over again, and honestly, it completely killed the momentum. Thankfully, Act 3 recovers things. The world opens up again and lets you explore new locations, like a strip club, adult video store, nightclubs, and various zombie-infested parts of the town. By the time I reached the credits, my playthrough clocked in at just over 15 hours. Completing challenges unlocks outfits and poses in the gallery, but without New Game Plus, I'm not sure I'll rush back for 100%, mostly because of Act 2. Wait a minute, what the fuck is this? After I finished the game, wrote the script, and even edited this video, the devs dropped a major update. And yeah, it actually addresses some of my biggest complaints. They added a non-stealth mode, thank God. Improved combat with new close range options, which would have been a lifesaver on my playthrough, and even expanded the clothing damage system for both Beth and the zombies. Which, okay, not strictly necessary, but hey, I'll take it. The devs have been consistently updating core systems, and while this isn't labeled early access, it definitely has that energy. Now, I still stand by all of my criticisms, but it's very possible this game looks very different in 6 months. And honestly, while I wasn't planning on going back for 100%, I might revisit it after a few more updates to see how far it's come. Let me know if that's something you'd want to see. As it stands right now, the price tag is still the biggest thread holding this game back. But there's a lot of potential here. Despite its rough edges, the Dead Thread genuinely impressed me at times. It's clear the developers love classic survival horror, and that passion really shows. The level design is strong, the puzzles are solid, resource management feels meaningful, and the costume crafting system, well, that's one of the most creative blends of fan service and gameplay I've seen in a horror game. That said, there's still work to be done. Combat needs refinement. Fix the aiming, tone down the sponge, and yeah, crank up the gore. You gotta give it some juice.
Oh, it's so juicy!
The progression system could use more depth to support the long runtime. In the costume system, there's an opportunity to better tie outfits into inventory management. Give them more strategic value beyond defense. In the stealth sections, yeah, I'd seriously just cut them entirely. They're not doing the game any favors. If you can look past those issues and you still enjoy survival horror with a cheeky twist, this is absolutely worth checking out. But for now, you may want to wait for a sale. On the bright side, there's a demo available, and it's a solid one. It covers the opening and the first major area, and should give you well over an hour of gameplay, more than enough to see if this game clicks for you. So, that's the Dead Thread. Ambitious, weird, punishing, and just a little bit horny, with a genuinely clever core system at its center. It deserves more attention, especially as these updates continue to roll out. And if the price drops, yeah, I think a lot more people are gonna give it a shot. If you're into weird survival horror like this, I've got another one that somehow gets even crazier. You'll want to check that out next. But now I want to hear from you. Are you stitching this one into your backlog, or leaving your threads in tatters? Let me know down below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for the best niche, indie, and fan service games. And I'll see you in the next one.